Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm your host, Javier Proenza. Every week, my guests and I share the answers we found and the questions we have. Join us as we explore and expand our worldview and ask, What's my thesis? And today, my guest is Sam Dybeck. And we know each other through Instagram. I am grateful that I quickly forgot where you're from because now we can do it organically again. You're from Seattle?
Yeah. I grew up in Seattle. I lived there until I was about 13. And then I lived in San Diego and Long Beach. And now I'm in Chicago.
So a Californian transitioning to the Midwest.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's a pretty decent marriage. I don't think that there's like it's not like New Yorkers coming out to LA, you know?
No, yeah.
It seems like it could work pretty easily. Does anyone think that you're fake?
Think that I'm fake.
Yeah. In Chicago? Are they like
I
we're the
mean,
real people? Because I know at New York, the New York LA thing is that.
yeah, I mean, I think that they probably think that. But then yeah, I usually tell that they're like, oh, like where in LA did you live? And I'm like, it's like not really LA, it's like Long Beach. And they're like, oh, like that's cool. Like, have you seen any famous people? I tell like my three like celebrity encounter stories.
Yeah. Have you had? Well, actually, let's go through them. I met, or I didn't meet her. Sorry, I saw Paris Hilton. My sister took me to a bar one time, and it was like this weird thing because I didn't expect it. There was like buzz, and then I was like close to her, and this was when she mattered, still a lot more. I mean,
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
she doesn't matter. She was like a huge
No, she's
cultural
still super
influence.
relevant.
Yeah, I mean, like she may be irrelevant now, but she was important for a while. People were saying, I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
hot. Did you say hot?
No, I said she's still relevant.
No, I'm saying I used to say hot. Did you ever say the word hot to describe things? The like that's
Like
hot.
things that are popular. Yeah, I feel like I still kind of say that
All
sometimes.
right. Well, then we owe her that debt of gratitude. I think, right? At the very least. But who have you met
Well,
or
you
seen?
know,
Sorry.
what one of my biggest regrets is not saying anything to him. But I went to Cal State Fullerton,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this one day I was sitting outside, and I see this guy that looks like a vampire like walking towards me, and he's with two like um, I guess like guides, and he turns in front of me and like walks into a building, and I go up to the two guides and I'm like, "Is that in a cave?" And they're like, they just look at each
What?
other and they start laughing and they're like, "Yeah, that's Nick Cave."
Wait. So you talked to the two guides? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was like, "Whoa, is he here on business?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's seeing the show that's in the gallery."
Oh, so he's into art.
Like, yeah, he just went into the bathroom if you want to go say hi to him. And then I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then like I was standing in front of the bathroom door and I was like, "No, like I gotta go." Like it was like too much.
Well, I mean, maybe it would have been a greater regret if you talked to him.
Yeah,
Not because like I mean, what can you really expect in that interaction, right? Like of them and of yourself.
yeah. I
You get
guess
what
I
I'm
probably
saying?
would have just been, hey, like I'm a big fan. Like, can I
Yeah, I
get a
mean, but
photo?
I mean, I'm not saying there's not value to that. Like, it's nice to tell like your heroes that you like them, right? Like, definitely. But but yeah, I don't think that like I don't think it could go much worse than not talking to your hero,
For
you
sure.
know. And that's not even factoring in the idea of like don't meet your heroes kind of thing,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
that's
I
an
mean, I
interesting
got like
concept.
mixed feelings on that. So it's,
How do you have mixed feelings on don't meet your heroes?
yeah. I don't know. I think maybe it depends who it is, but I think that I'd like to think of the people that I look up to as sort of just like omnipotent, like creators of things that I like. And then when I meet them, it sort of like shatters like that, that notion that I have.
Okay, so you do subscribe to the notion of not meeting your heroes, not necessarily because they're assholes, but because it takes something away, like it takes the mythology.
Yeah. It's almost a letdown to know that
They go to the bathroom.
It's like us, yeah.
Cool, man. So, and how long have you been in Chicago? Did you go to the institute?
No,
I forget.
I didn't.
Okay.
I moved here like a year ago. Been wanting to move to like a larger city, and my girlfriend got into a grad program here for clinical psychology,
Mm.
and we took a trip here, and
As someone who's had mental health
great.
issues, it feels like Chicago has some good psychology programs.
Yeah, yeah. No, it seems like it does.
Yeah, I think it might have something to do with the weather. Like like California psychiatrists, psychologists might have it a little bit easier
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of like
definitely.
lack of seasonal depression and triggers like that.
Yeah,
So so then what do you get up to out there, like in terms of
Chicago.
yeah, is in terms of the art scene specifically. Like I'm
Um,
not asking you like, what do you do? Because this isn't a party and it's not
yeah,
awkward.
yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it. I I work a full-time job that's not art related, but
Uh-huh.
I also work as a gallery manager at Level 3, which is like a volunteer run, um,
Okay.
artist run exhibition space.
Cool. So how what's your, I just got I just became a member of I just got approved. Which is they're like they're like don't say it that way they didn't present it that way, but I definitely feel honored to be approved by them or to have their validation. But I got into Monte Vista project. So our space is like we are all artists that have a curatorial practice, and then we don't show in our own space. There's different ways to do it. Like that's like a platform for other people. What I know there's like totally different places, ways of doing it. How do you guys do it?
I mean, I feel like for other artist run spaces, we have a more regular programming schedule. Like we do a new exhibition every 6 weeks,
Hmm.
and we
So who
always try
curates
to
the
have,
shows? How do you guys like how many like is it like I'm just more curious about these kind of art run spaces and how not so much how they differ, but like how different people do things. You know?
yeah, I mean, we have a pretty small team. It's me and three other people. We usually collaborate on, we all have like our own titles. And so, but we usually do the programming pretty collaboratively. We always try to show one Chicago artist and then, 1 to 2 visiting artists.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the times, like we have these group exhibitions, so it's a pretty large space. And a lot of times they won't, maybe they'll be like aware of each other before the show, but um, yeah, we usually just program a few artists to do exhibitions together. So a lot of times they don't even know each other before it, and
And
it
then
ends
they
up.
collaborate on in the space on what the like. So you guys basically put a bunch of people together and make them like introduce them to each other, and then are you
Yeah,
because so you're curating people. It's interesting. I mean, not like that.
I
Maybe sounded a little
suppose.
bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounded a little bit more slavery related than curating artist collaborations. Is that like less creepy?
Yeah, I guess we're curating exhibitions.
You're
So,
curating exhibition. Okay, so they're not. But it sounds like you're curating the shows. Is I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you guys were having them do all the curating.
it's not a super. I guess the process isn't so rigid all the
Okay.
time. It's like we kind of invite artists and they show us what they're working on or what they're excited about, and then we
Do
install
you
the show.
guys make the decisions or do they interact at all with each other?
Uh,
I not that that's an expectation.
Studio visits, like
What's that?
with the team. We'll have studio visits with the team and the artists that we're
Okay.
inviting
Is there
simultaneously.
is there a head that does the sort of like if someone gets a vibe off of what you're seeing and like oh like does someone take the lead and pitch maybe the direction to take it in? How does that work?
So like we run like an online publication too. So a lot of the times like
Oh,
we'll
what's that called? Plug it right now and then we'll plug it again at the end.
so if you go to it's Level 3, like the word level without the e's and the number 3. It's been around for a while. It's a digital publication. We do two interviews every week.
And do you guys do video, audio, or is it like a written, a transcribed interview?
It's all written. Yeah.
Okay. Like no, no. I
Um,
mean that's like I was of trying to avoid the word magazine
that's cool. No,
because I'm so
I feel
old.
like now, the word publication is kind of, it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, like sometimes I realize how long I have been watching the internet evolve, and at some point it's like music. You maybe are not as sharp at finding new stuff unless people are introducing it to you
for sure.
and maybe you kind of become like a homebody, you know. I guess nowadays a lot of people get into playlists and discover music that way, but I'm just a podcast like obsessive. But okay. So then is there like and not to grill you. So like
No, you're good. That's fine.
no, no, I'm just curious. I'm always curious about how, like, what I mean by not to grill you is like I'm going to volunteer a little bit of how we do things over here, right? So that you don't have, so it's not on you to talk. But so like the way we do it is a little bit different, and I appreciate like hearing the way you guys do it. I'm new to this whole process because I just became a member, and now I've been given the opportunity to propose a show, and I'm really excited about that. And I've been thinking about it. I'm not going to talk about it because who knows? It's too early. But we write proposals. We have a bunch of. I think we're in like the. I think there were 8 when I joined, and maybe at this point there's like, my math is terrible. 11 at this point, right? Because 3 new members got in. I
Yeah.
shouldn't have.
Eight,
That's
eight plus
correct. I'm just tired, bro.
8 plus 3, that's 11. Sorry.
I've been doing math all day, just counting cash and like, it's when I sometimes I trick myself into having to do math, and I'm like, fuck. But yeah, so we do it a little bit like that, which is really cool. Um, I'm excited. I'm always excited to hear how different like cities do it. What other kind of artist run spaces are there in Chicago?
I mean, there's quite a lot actually.
I would imagine so. I mean, it's like a big. There's like a
Yeah,
lot of public art.
yeah,
Maybe
which is cool. Like I feel like there's a lot of galleries there that are a bit more alternative or experimental or whatever word you want to use, that's like not a commercial gallery.
okay.
And
Well,
there's like 20
how would you
commercial
define that?
galleries that
Because
are like really sick, but
I know what I think of when I think of LA. What do you what can you give me some more like what kind of programming, I guess would be the question. Like is it like do they platform things that are not necessarily sellable, like maybe more performance based or installation based?
I mean, I haven't been to a ton of performance things around the city. Just I think that might be like a COVID thing.
Oh, cuz
But
you just got out there, sorry.
yeah, I've only been here since like August
Yeah, yeah. Oh
2020.
my
So yeah,
god. So
yeah. I don't want to speak with too much authority on the city.
no, but I mean, you're running a space, so
Because-
you must know a little bit about the network, right? You have some authority because you have a knowledge of at least a niche. I'm not asking you for
Sure,
like,
sure.
hey, can you tell me a little bit more about the Chicago fire and how they used all the wood to like? I did one of the tours on the boats, which are very
That
cool.
tour is sick. I did that one like a month ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I would recommend that.
yeah. I saw when they were filming Batman. Actually, they were filming Dark Knight. That's when I took it, and they showed me the old post office that I think was. I don't know what they used it as, but anyway, we digress. So anyway, so like, I mean, okay, so there's definitely a lot of like alternative spaces. Maybe you can refer me to artists that you meet when you were out there, or like people in your network, or maybe other level 3 artists. So that like, is everybody else out? Like, how did you meet the level 3 people? And then
It
I'll
was
ask that, and to finish
actually
that thought.
a really great experience. There's this really great resource called Chicago Artists Coalition. They have a jobs section. I finished going to school remotely last December, and after winter break, I was like, okay, I need to like involve myself in some way because like things aren't really opening. And it just seemed like the next logical step before like being like, yeah, I'm gonna apply to grad programs. So I went on the jobs section, and it was like level 3 needs a gallery assistant, and I'm like, oh, that's like out of all the jobs on there, like that was the one gallery that like I knew about, and I was like, oh, that gallery's sick. And so I just like sent an application, and then they're like, hey, cool, like let's like do an interview. And I had a couple interviews, and yeah, the rest is history.
Wait, so you're but you framed it as a volunteer space, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome, dude. That's amazing. One of the things that I have a frustration with is like my mom has never really understood how easily accessible that art world is like that, and that's kind of become one of my things. Like with the first curatorial experience I had was curating a show around her, because it's actually really accessible. Like people are cool, and if you make
Yeah.
good work, people are like they want to talk to you. So cool. I won't ask you about the interview process, but that's really like a really interesting story. So. Did you have a topic that I mean, a little bit about
I
how we do
have
things
some
around here.
things that I want to bounce around.
Okay, yeah, well, you know how
Mostly
we
like
do.
about like the
Can I ask you
um,
something? Are there teeth behind you?
no, it's this like sculpture that I've been working on.
Okay, cool.
It's like a mattress topper, but it's
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's a mattress topper is what it
Yeah,
is.
that's cool. Anyway, so sorry. So we're in your studio, right?
Yeah, my home studio.
Your home studio.
It's in the
Is that
apartment I
foam
live
wrapped
in.
in plastic behind you as well?
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand the materials.
But I found it like in an alley, so like I didn't want to like
No, okay, I
everything
understand.
dirty.
It looks like a sculpture. That's why I was asking you. I thought it was like it's ceramics with some plastic like thing, but now
Okay.
that you now you've contextualized it for me. Yeah, it does look soft. And then it looks like there's like it's poking out of a
It's a
like
trash
it's
bag.
basically a glad bag with the red stripe
It's
on the
exactly
top.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Anyway, so where did you want to start on the topics?
Um, I kind of want to loosely sort of talk about like the internet and like people's like digital persona
Okay,
versus
I'm into that.
meet them in
Can we
person.
contextualize your age?
My age, I'm 23.
23. So you're as Generation Z. I'm
I
gonna
love
show
this
you
part
the
of the show.
courtesy of not calling you a Zoomer.
No, it's cool. Like I'm like a cusper. I think it depends like which thing you want to like make fun of me for is like you're gonna classify me as like a millennial or a zoomer.
Wait, so what is the? Do you know? You probably. I
I've
know
heard
that I'm
that 95 is the cutoff.
for Zoomer.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so it's like 81 is the cutoff for millennial, right?
I
and
think.
and I'm a Gen Xer. It's weird. It's really hard. It's like setting boundaries on geography, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, that's like a problem I run into all the time here.
Yeah. So okay, so now we know you're a digital native, whereas I like my generation kind of takes the claim of being the generation that propelled Silicon Valley forward.
Yeah.
Or I sorry, not my generation. I went on one awkward date with one woman, and I've internalized it because she ended up yelling at me.
On the first date.
Yeah. Well, so you disagree, but like sometimes you're just like I'm gonna leave, and then but other times it's like There's something weird going on here. Let's argue. Okay, so you're a digital native. All right, go ahead. Personas are very interesting because like I
Yeah.
told you before, I'm trying to build one for someone else, and that's a whole different other world.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that I feel like we're sort of in a place where like you can kind of construct a persona or an identity for yourself based on sort of like your digital like curation.
Is that
Your
specific to
Instagram.
artists or
I
everybody?
think it's something that's super common in artists just because they're like
I can vouch for that.
they
I
have
interview.
a visual understanding maybe that like a lot of like people that maybe went to school for like economics or something don't.
I think
Like I don't
that
think people who went to school for like economics and like finance are like shit posting like artists are.
shit posting. All right,
Yeah.
define shit posting how you understand it.
Yeah, just like something you post like that's funny. I think that
Okay, okay.
it's sort of
Shit posting used to be
anything
a bit
that's
of spam.
opposing. Yeah,
Sorry, go
anything
ahead.
that's opposing like the photos that most people will post. Like, oh, cool, at like this engagement party this weekend. Like, I love what like that kind of thing. I feel like that's kind of for you think about Instagram. There's like the brunch era, or like everyone's like posting their food, and then like after that, it was like everyone's just posting like these massive events in their life and kind of glorifying
So you're
these
saying that shit
seldom
post
events. So shit
that
post is the
shit
opposite. Yeah, it's
shit
like you're just gonna
posting is
post really
ironically.
quickly and like, um, I mean, some people call it like post ironic or whatever, but yeah.
Oh, that term is clever but makes me cringe at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's actually the point of the term. Yeah,
But I think that's a shitpost term. So that may like it. I think
yeah.
it's this in the same spirit of what you're describing as shitpost. Yeah, I never as shitpost. My understanding. I'm not even gonna explain it because I think I'm wrong. Because like what? Because I thought it was just like posting. Um, is it a little bit like posting like from the perspective of like Norm Macdonald's comedy. Do you know what I mean? Like where it's
No.
like, okay, that's the generational thing. He used to tell a lot of jokes where the punchline was so fucking obvious, but it was hilarious. Like it wasn't, but that isn't
like
ironic, but
like
it
like
is.
was he doing it to be sarcastic, or like was he doing it
It's
because he
not
actually
even
thought that like
sarcastic.
something was fun?
I'm not gonna try to explain Norm Macdonald to you. It was a reference I was trying to use as a connection. It's he just passed away, so it's like it's really hard.
Oh, Turd Ferguson, that guy.
Yes, Turd
Yeah, yeah,
Ferguson.
okay, I know you're talking about, yeah.
So yeah, okay. No, but I'm glad you know him because I was actually surprised how many people know him. But we don't have to do a rest in peace for him.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
people know that like he's an important person, and I appreciate him, and I'm very sad he's dead. But okay, so shit posting. So then shit posting becomes this ironic persona, right?
I think that's the phenomenon of shit posting is that like nobody knows if they're doing it like ironically or not.
I'm gonna try to see if you know this meme. It was the meme with what's her name, Lana Del Rey, and it was like there was something about enlightenment and acid men taking it was like is that what you're talking about, this like complete iron, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about, but based on the things that you're like explaining within a singular frame, I'm gonna guess that that's yeah, like
Yeah, it sounds like
probably
it.
somewhere
Okay.
within the ethos of shit posting. Yeah.
Because it confused the shit out of an exennial, which is another categorization of
Did
our
you just
generation. Exennial being like the overlap because
Oh,
we're
okay.
special and and we get to like decide our own fucking thing because of how we weren't digital natives. But anyway, okay,
Yeah.
so go on. Personas. Tell me more. I'm actually gonna start taking notes so that I can get better at this shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely think that you know um, a lot of artists and people who work in adjacent fields to artists, like if you go onto like one of their Instagram pages, like you're not gonna. I feel like you're not gonna understand who they are or what they do based on the images that they're posting.
These aren't memes, these are images, right?
No, I mean, like some of them are memes maybe, but yeah.
Okay, tell me more, because I don't want to, like, or maybe maybe cutting to it is like, do I mean do I shit post in this way, or is this like something that's like, have you seen me do it by accidentally? Like, is this like, I'm trying to understand like what
No,
this
I mean,
irony is, because I think this is like a meta that's escaping me. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, maybe. I think that's like kind of why I thought it would maybe be fun to talk about.
No, I'm into it, dude.
No, no,
I'm
no.
asking you.
I'm not doubting it. But I mean, not really. I mean, based on the stuff that I've seen you post, if
Okay.
it's not like podcast related, it's either like something that you probably think is like
Because I'm from,
it's like valuable at face value. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I
I'm
feel
from a
like the stuff that
sincerity
you post,
generation, I
they're
think,
like,
of
yeah,
content
yeah,
creation.
yeah. I think that might be a good way to
I mean,
explain.
sincerity is like saccharine, but like like I don't want to like I feel like I'm excited though that kids might get a higher level of this.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think like, you know, a lot of the reason that I wanted to like talk about it is because I think that it has a lot to do with the sort of like visual like post internet aesthetics.
Okay.
You know, like everything that I feel like maybe people that are like 5 or 10 years younger than me think is cool is like this weird mashup of like all these things that have been cool within the last like 20 years, but like deep fried and like bass boosted.
Is it, what's your concept of the 90s?
I don't know. I mean, I was alive for like 2 years of it, but like I
Okay.
grew up in Seattle, so I feel like my like
Does
auditory understanding
vaporwave,
of it. Vapor, like I feel like
is
I
that
sort of
too
like missed
sincere?
it. I like missed vaporwave. Like I didn't. I feel like maybe I didn't understand it
Okay.
when
Okay.
it was going on. So it
No,
could
but
be.
I understand. I understand it on the like that. I mean, that might be the last. That might be my last grasp of like something that's in this level of irony, that we're
Sure,
talking
sure.
about. So you're teaching me something. I'm into it. Go. So,
Yeah. Well,
all right.
and I think that that's a really fun thing is that like anytime I see someone that like anytime I see something that somebody my age has created, like I don't really understand if I should like take it at face value and be like, oh, that's like really funny, or like,
Well, when you first started talking about it, I thought it was more related to like experiences that I've had where people want to really have a controlled output of their image, right? Like for
yeah,
artists. But this sounds like it's completely different. This is like, I mean, but at the same time, it's like it's hyper that, right? Like it's like, it's it might be a reaction to like cringing to people like me, which I don't
yeah.
take personally.
Yeah, maybe.
No. I like but you get what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
it's a
no, totally.
rebellion to this sort of like like I'm a boomer to these people essentially, right?
Yeah,
Like I don't feel invalidated by that. I feel like encouraged by it, but I also feel like, I mean, like that's their fucking job to hate everything, right?
yeah. I mean,
And
yeah. I mean, especially I think especially in art and it's adjacent. As I said, you know, I don't really know a good way to explain
is it
the
still?
overlap that I'm talking about, but like I think that like a lot of people, it's not as common now, but I think people think it's cool just to like hate everything. So
Yeah, that makes sense. But I also went
I
through
don't think
that.
that's like a generational thing though.
No, but you know what though? It there is something so much more charming about it, because I've come across this. Like, you're describing something that I kind of have seen on the outside, and I've experienced it in the sense of like, man, I don't get these kids, but they're doing something. Like, not like these fucking
Yeah.
kids, like fuck these kids. It's like there's something here. I don't get it because I'm not like, I don't have the cultural awareness or the cultural dialogue. Not cultural awareness sounds a little wokey, but like
Yeah.
the vernacular or the vocabulary to like really understand where it's founded in. But it is just like because meta was kind of funny but lame. It got tired. But like
Yeah.
this is like meta on meta where like
Yeah.
is it possible that there is? I mean, can you get someone to know someone through their cynical sense of humor?
No, I mean, I think that that's something that's super common amongst people my age is that um, a lot of people need to use humor to talk about things that are serious,
Mm.
which is not a bad thing necessarily, but you know, people will post stuff all the time like, oh yeah, like I want to fucking die. And like maybe like they mean it, but like they said it like with a heart emoji or something. So like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
Like
that gets me into a weird place. So how do you feel about that? I don't want to keep driving it. Like,
I feel like, I don't know, kind of just indifferent towards it. It's like something that's like
yeah,
I feel like maybe it's you know like someone has the ability to say something they didn't feel comfortable saying if they didn't say it in that way, or if there you know if it was really abnormal to say it in the way that they did, but
can it ever be
it is
really?
maybe kind of avoidant. I don't know.
Can it ever really be meta to make a joke like that though? Is what I'm is
Like you're making a
like
joke about the joke.
I'm not saying it's tasteless. What I'm saying is no. That's that I'm not like canceling or I'm not like
Oh,
out.
you're fine.
No. I'm just stating it like being
Yeah.
clear for the general conversation. I'm not worried about like you how like you or anyone thinks about me in this case. I'm just saying like 'cause sometimes I do, but I'm just saying that like um, do happy people make that joke? And if
Maybe. I don't know.
like okay, my concern is that it obscures like there's in the terms of mental health, right? Like if someone's joking about that in your life, it may be time to check in, right? Like and so like I feel like that takes the sting out of the humor. Like it makes me laugh nervously.
Yeah. I think that might be the intended response
I
of
know, but that
saying something like
obscures
that.
my concern. Like, okay, I mean, maybe that's the point. I'm saying that I'm not saying it's invalid. I appreciate your interjection there. I'm working through this. All right, I think it's hard to fucking it's hard. I think the difficulty is that the level of exposure that people that are doing this have had to images and the combination of image and text and like not before pre-meme, right? Not post-meme, right? Like the idea of you just growing up and having 2 years of the 90s in your life, right?
Yeah.
I'm correct, right? Like that's what you said.
Yeah. 98.
Like that's when the internet was like happening. The 2000s was when it was like when it was corporate.
Yeah. .com boom.
2005 was when six was when Twitter came around. Like that's the decade. So I think that you guys have been exposed not only to just like images, I mean, in terms of photography, it's like really fucking hard to understand the basic image for my generation, but I think that you guys understand it on a level that like maybe is like escaping us.
Yeah. I mean, like yes and no. I guess I studied photography and I have I don't know. I have maybe mixed feelings about like the role of images
You're a
in
95 or
90.
94? Oh, 98.
Yeah.
So you are and Zoomer's 95.
Yeah. Like no.
That's
Like
not cusp, motherfucker.
post 95.
Post 95. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm teasing you. I'm cusp. I'm saying that only because I'm like 80, and it's 81.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
go ahead.
definitely.
What were you saying?
Um,
You
yeah,
have mixed feelings about it.
that images just mean something different now than like maybe they did before,
Yeah, no, I agree.
because we see like a million of them a day, and that's cool. Like I'm not mad at it. I like it. But yeah, a photography education is like should mean something different now too.
But
It's really hard to like learn the things that you do in a classroom. Like a photographic theory class in 2020, where you're reading like Roland Barthes and stuff. Like, how do you interpret that as
Roland Barthes is
a young adult?
I'm
Oh
more
no, I
of
just mean like as in like photographic theory.
no, I'm more of a Susan Sontag, a familiar person because
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
who my teachers taught me. So I'm
yeah.
not
And I read
but
Sontag too.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So but I think that also might be a generational thing. Is my point. Or what
what
Roland
writers you?
what generation is Roland from?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. You just
I think
said
he
some
was kind of
shit and
one of
he's
the
from
like
the past.
the first photographic theorists.
Oh, he might have been? Okay. So
Yeah.
then I'm completely wrong. All right. So then tell me a little bit more about how these personas play out. Okay. Now that I mean, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't know if you expected it to be this fucking, like, you'd have to spoon feed me
No,
this.
no, it's cool. It's cool. um, sorry, what
I
was
want to
that?
take you back and show you my internet.
It's probably really cool. Yeah. I mean, I like the internet now. The internet's like amazing.
Back then the internet was the promise of this internet, but with a lot more sugar on top. So even though this internet was limited, all right, we went from AOL being the arbiters and keepers of gatekeepers of the internet for us to the internet being open, and then Facebook came around and then became AOL. And so it's a weird you may not have a concept of that Wild West, even though it was garbage and it was all text based. It was just like it wasn't even dark web. It was just like lonely people reaching out to each other. But yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit more about this.
Well, where should I start? I don't know.
In terms of a little bit more of a specific question. In terms of this persona, let's go back to that. Like, how are kids? How do you feel like that digital persona? You feel like you were saying that.
Yeah, the digital persona now holds more weight than it ever has, because I feel like people are primarily communicating on the internet. So
Well, we talked about this before.
To know someone through the internet is to know them,
What's that?
And like to know someone through the internet is to know them, to an extent. But
no, and I get that. What I was gonna say is I get that. Like we were talking about that before we started recording, maybe, or me. We've been talking for a while, but like the idea of being talked at for the first time, the fourth wall breaking in our interaction, having. I mean, not that you're like a fan. I don't want to frame you like that, but that you have listened to the show.
I've listened to the show. Yeah.
That and that experience. Like on the opposite side, it does feel incredibly validating to have people listen to you, or like even in the small scale of what we're talking about. But so going back to what you were saying about the relationships that I have, like, I mean, we've interacted very briefly, but just because I know you've listened to me, and maybe that's more narcissism based, but maybe that's part of it, is like I kind of know that like I'm not gonna offend you most of the time. like you or if you're gonna argue with me, you know how I argue, so you maybe not hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like a lot of the way that I picked the topic was like I was thinking like, oh, like I mean, it was like pretty weird when you asked me like, do you want to be on the show? Because I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I've listened to the show before, and I was like, I wonder what he's gonna ask me about. Like, he's gonna ask me about like my practice or what, you know. I'm like, wait, how much
I
does he
stay off the
know?
practice.
Like,
Yeah.
how much does he know about me? And then I looked, I was like, well, he just like, I don't have the website set up yet or anything. So it's like, he just knows me as like an Instagram profile.
That's how I know everybody I
And
invite.
like, yeah, but I think that's
Yeah.
a really interesting experience to be like entirely flattened by like your digital persona, you know?
Yeah,
Like your identity is indicative of like the things that you're posting, you know?
what do you mean? So sorry, I
Like
didn't understand.
your understanding of me is communicated through the things that I'm like putting on the internet and like telling.
Yeah, I think that is the trigger for the curiosity, right? And I
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure.
no, I mean, just going off of that, I think that like the times that I have a really hard time with guests, and going back to what I thought you meant, like this is, and I think this is generational thing is really interesting to me because it keeps coming up on the show, or maybe that's just what I'm obsessed with right now. But or I just have younger people on the show, and we don't make references to what it was like being living in the '90s. But sorry, I lost my place. What was it? What was I saying?
You were
Oh yeah,
starting to say something about like,
connecting the point of having people that I see on Instagram is like your Instagram persona is interesting to me enough that I'm curious about you, and sometimes that fails because people aren't willing to break, or I sometimes that the episodes don't leave me feeling like they went well, right? I don't want to color anyone's perception of how the episode went because sometimes I may think that because I'm frustrated, right?
yeah,
But I feel like the difficulty I have is when people are not used to breaking out of that persona, right? Like,
yeah,
and I've had people pick topics and then they're not um if like if you pick a topic and you want to talk about something else or we end up talking about something else, that's usually okay, but sometimes people just
yeah.
they're not used to like, you know so maybe I'm gonna have a hard time with like maybe it would be interesting to have like a younger person shitpost me in an interview.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
People have done performances on the show. I love it. I'm all down for like being put on the spot and collaborating.
That's cool.
But that's not a call to artists, by the way.
Yeah.
But okay, so you kind of framed it as a frustration. Is it a frustration that you have?
No, I wouldn't say it's a frustration. I just it's something that I think is interesting to talk about because I feel like it's something that's like really prevalent, but like there's not like, since it is kind of like a like cheeky avoidant kind of thing in general. It's
That's why I thought avoidant was why I
you know what
thought.
I mean? Like no one's really like it's hard to have a conversation about because it's something that's like really elusive.
It's interesting also because it's like it's almost like post activist, right? Like, and that is where I get a little concerned, and that goes back to where I was like trying to figure out that thing earlier. I forget exactly, but it was of the same nature when I was like, what? But yeah, but maybe it's gonna be, I don't know. I'm just so fucking worried that we're
About
all
what?
gonna just burn up in a fucking frying ball. Are there a lot of fires in Chicago?
Not really.
Yeah. That climate change shit and all the people at the border like trying to run away from earthquakes and shit. It's like, so like how do they do you think it's like an avoidance mechanism of that? Is that why you say avoidance?
I think it's more like an escapism thing. Like you get to be whoever you want to on the internet. And
As
because it's something that holds so much weight, like, or not so much, I don't know, maybe I'm explaining that in a way that's inaccurate. But it's something that matters to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way that you portray yourself on the internet.
100%, yeah.
So I think that it's kind of like an escapist thing, like, oh cool, like I'm just gonna develop this like alternate reality that
It's like a
others
video
can,
game.
you know, others can project onto me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
there
that
is
has a
something.
lot to do with it. You know, like sometimes like you meet someone that you only talk to on the internet and you're like, what the fuck? Like, you know, like you're nothing like the way that I expected you to be. Like,
Yeah.
I find it like especially shocking when it's like someone who like
Well,
posts
I think
like really funny stuff all day and then like you meet them in person, they have like zero personality and like
I think that might be contextual, and and I think that goes back to the because I've met people, and I think like I've had people on the show that I think they weren't like going back to the whole idea of people not taking this seriously, and it's fair for you to not take this seriously. So like if you come into the show and you don't take it seriously and you don't understand that I'm actually gonna like ask you about your topic, right?
yeah.
Like if you think like, oh, we're gonna talk for an hour and I'm just gonna come up with a topic, I really don't want to talk about my practice or anything
Yeah.
else or anything like that. Like but I think that that's contextual. Like if you're good at shit posting, like good for
Mm.
you too, you know, like I think I'm more interested in the idea of like this is like I'm listening to this like an old dude like yo this is cutting edge.
This is what which
Cutting edge like this is I just
well, I mean, I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad.
no because I hear this I see this shit I come across it it's everywhere but I like I and I'm like but I think that this is the best. It's almost like it's interesting because it's almost like you can't explain it to me, but I can ask you questions about it, and you
Yeah.
can be like hot or cold.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that might be kind of like going back to the like elusiveness of it. It's something that's difficult to pin down because it's like happening right now.
Hmm.
It's relatively new and it is something that is like mysterious. You know, I feel like that's maybe like the most common thing that people want to portray through the internet is like how mysterious they are. You know, like I saw a meme the other day. It was like, I want to be mysterious so bad, but I do not know how to shut up. And I feel like that's a really prevalent issue. I don't want to say issue because it's not really a problem, but that like, you know, maybe people experience like when they're trying to like make themselves seem interesting through like their internet persona.
That's hilarious because it's like tracking my internet understanding. Like I was alive when people didn't know how. I was one of them where people didn't know how to fucking post on Facebook, and Facebook's a little hard.
Yeah, yeah,
I
it's
don't
kind
think
of like
anyone's ever
archaic
really
too.
figured out Facebook.
Yeah,
I still go on there and I'm like,
yeah,
but there was like this there was a period of overshare, right? Like in Facebook where people were
yeah,
in social media, whereas like, but this kind of goes a little bit back to that the more MySpace way of doing things, where it was like you could personalize things in this
yeah,
like completely on like you like sort of what Facebook brought in from what I've seen on other people's commentary. This is not my idea. Is that the fact that like it's kind of was like the first time that you took away anonymity from the internet, and
yeah,
like and this is like a way to reclaim it, which is really interesting.
totally.
It's like yeah, you know that's why
Yeah,
I'm not against it. I ain't against it. I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing? You know, because and I think that some of it is just cringe on purpose, and that is
yeah,
like where I'm like, when it makes me cringe, I'm like, is this sincere? And I think that is like maybe it is like a trolling discomfort. I mean, I'm all for
Yeah.
trolling, like a trolling discomfort.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, going back to MySpace too, that's I sort of like I miss the MySpace.
So you're aware of MySpace. How old were you when
I'm
MySpace?
totally aware of, I mean, that's the thing is like I didn't have like internet access till I was probably 13.
Okay.
So I feel, honestly, I feel a little like stunted, like, like my growth is stunted compared to some of my
Were you
contemporaries.
yeah, were you
Like
were you
these guys are like on the internet, like they can like code now. Like that's why so many millennials can code, is because like they were putting like their favorite like Blink 182 song on their MySpace page when you'd open it up.
Yeah, but I mean, I used to do that, and that's not coding.
Yeah.
That's HTML. I thought you were talking about now, like how there's a generation of people that know how to code. But I think that they've kind of tried to keep that because of the way, like when in the 80s, you kind of had to know how to use DOS and you had to know how to like, what the fuck a bootloader was. The first Windows 3.1. I'm assuming you're going to bring me some young users that I can explain this to. 3.1 is that would run on DOS, on top of DOS. Like the first, like the first like Apple style things where you had the like Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates all clapping on stage, dancing to like some really white music, looking awkward, wearing rugby shirts. And all. You can look at these videos up; they're fucking hilarious. All of that shit was running on DOS. So like people, like the movie Hackers and all of those things, like back then, you actually had to fucking code. Even in MySpace, you had to code, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so, but now I think that everything, like the level of UI usage has like left the creativity, like, and also
Yeah.
anonymous. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that's a big reason why like the things that you choose to post matter so much. It's like the curation of the things that you're posting matters more, because you don't get to decide how it's accepted or how it's ingested. It's just going to be like in a grid or like a timeline. There's nothing you can do to change the way that information gets communicated to someone. You just have control over the visual image that they're seeing.
And you have to break out in that little cube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And I mean, I think that's where like maybe the shit poster thing comes from, because like you need to understand like how or why they posted,
yeah.
because there's no
Yeah.
other context. Like they could just say something dumb, like in the caption, it's like a picture of like some like macaroni they spilled on the sidewalk or something. And it's like,
But it's funny because it's like it's kind of something that like it's a way of getting attention with mystery, right? And
yeah,
it's funny because William Gibson, sci-fi writer, invented the term cyberspace, which is outdated at this point, but was important in the 90s. He talks about how like he wrote a book called Pattern Recognition, and part of it was about how like it was this like projecting forward sci-fi book trying to figure out how people would create mystery with these like videos, but it was all very cinematic and all very what's amazing to me is that the mysteries in the shitpost, right? Like the mysteries in this like ironic,
yeah,
like it's a conceptual thing. It's not an aesthetic thing. Like it's not high budget. It's punk in a sense, right? Like where it's like it's accessible to everybody. Even now, where everybody can just fucking make their own music studio, they can make their own content. Like there's something
yeah,
to that sort of irony that gets you above, right?
yeah. Or it creates the mystique.
Uh huh. Yeah, yeah, the mystique, or even me, like I'm fascinated by this, and I've only been frustrated by looking like at posts. And what has been fun to me is that like someone was like, it's not supposed like someone explained this to me. It was Pamela who's been on the show, Pamela Rios, and she was like, she was that
Pamela Ramos.
Ramos? Sorry, do you know
Yeah, no,
her?
I interviewed her for the publication like a little while ago. No,
Pablo
she's great.
Ramos. Yeah.
I love the episodes. They're like
Yeah,
some of my
she's
favorite ones. Yeah.
oh, she's so cool. I've tried to have her back on, but she's been super busy. She's like one of my favorite guests because of this like sort of like it's like there's an education that I'm missing because I'm old, you know? But but she was the one who schooled me on this. Is like, and my reaction was like, I'm a grumpy old guy. But like ultimately, like now you're explaining something to me that I've had experience with, and it's fascinating to me. It's like it's so weird. It takes me back to being 15 and having no power and being like, fuck this, you know? Like, is that what the spirit, or am I not getting it at all?
I mean, that might be like some people's approach to it, but I'm curious. Wait, what did she explain to you?
She was just telling me that it wasn't meant to be like because okay, so the post was basically Lana Del Rey and saying something about men. I'm also like it was a little bit gatekeeper of drugs on me, where it was like she was like the post was like about had Lana Del Rey. I didn't even know it was Lana Del Rey, and then the thing said that that it was like fuck what men take acid and and feel like they're enlightened, and something like that. But it was just like it triggered me as an old bloke who's done a lot of drugs, and I'm like,
Okay.
acid doesn't give you enlightenment, and so like that was like, and it's like, why is it a pretty woman? So like I was just off. It was like reverse old guy shit post if I had meant it that way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then she was like no, and I just had fun. I even reposted the thing because it was just so it was so outside of my like okay kids, thank you. Thanks for helping grandpa. But yeah, but it's cool that kids are doing stuff that like is under the radar. I think that that's what kids got to be doing, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, if you think about it, that's yeah. Like
It's their
every
job to say fuck this
yeah, exactly. I
and
mean,
think about a better way
every
to do it.
sort of like responsive to the thing that happened before it.
What's
You
that?
know, everything culturally is kind of responsive to the thing before it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like maybe something that I find like really interesting about the topic is that like there's not. I feel like there's not culturally one thing that led to this handling of the internet that I can think of at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like it is also there's a little bit of the Dadaist thing of like the world doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I mean, you've actually given me an appreciation for it. I don't know if that was your intention. Maybe you hate this.
No, I mean, I just want to talk about it. I think it's interesting and it's funny and it's like it's just amusing to me, like for better or for worse.
No, I
So
don't. I
I'm
mean,
glad you're having that experience. That's good.
maybe it will lead to some like horrible thing somewhere down the line. We thought the '90s were great when it was happening, right? And then we just did a bunch of horrible things legislatively. A lot of things we didn't even know were happening, like the crime bill, even though they were made. Like I was like, when I was a kid, dude, this is how like inaccessible all this shit was in terms of media. I used to watch movies. There was the Martin Lawrence movie about three strikes, and I didn't understand the impact that would have on someone's life. I was like, why does this matter to people so much? Right? Like it was
Yeah,
completely out of my experience, and now it's like centerpiece. Right? So
yeah, totally. It's yeah, yeah. It is kind of like a lot of those choices. Um, their effects weren't seen in a short time, and now we're sort of like
yeah,
living in a world where that's
but it
get heavily influenced by those decisions.
yeah, but it speaks to like a critical thinking thing there that I think is really like You know,
Yeah,
there's a media analysis that's happening there that I think is homework.
totally. Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I think that's a really good point to bring up, because I do feel like that is extremely present.
yeah.
Like being really critical in like the consideration of information, you know?
Well, even in the example of that meme, it made me like I'm always happy when someone makes me rethink the way I consume things, right?
Yeah.
And
No,
that
that's
was
cool.
like I like, and I'm also very comfortable being done publicly, right? So that was a happy marriage where I was like, we're like, I don't feel like Pamela felt like she was like coming at me. She was just like there was empathy in it, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but like at the same time, I'm like, yo, this shit is actually kind of cool now that we've talked about it. So thank you, man. I really
Yeah, no,
appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
I'm sorry if I just went on with my old man bullshit of like, wait, what? Huh? But I really appreciate the topic. Sometimes it goes like that where I'm like, I need to ask most of the questions and be like, wait, does this make sense? But yeah, man, I really enjoyed talking to you. I really appreciate our interactions on Instagram. Is there anything we can promote for you that so we've got level 3. It's a publication. Re-explain level
publication.
3.
What's up?
Re-explain level 3.
Oh, level 3 is a volunteer-based, artist-run exhibition space in Chicago. We do a digital publication. We publish 2 interviews weekly. We do an exhibition every 6 weeks.
Mm.
That's level 3 underscore official on Instagram. My Instagram is my name, Sam Dybeck,
Okay.
all one word.
And do you have anything, any website that hasn't been updated? Oh, that's right. You said that I
Under
did.
construction. That's my goal by the end of the year.
Dude, why do you think it's the last thing I ask people about on every episode? I'm like, is there a website? Whenever anybody leads with, okay, here's a trick for what's my thesis plugs. If anyone plugs their website first, it's up to date.
Yeah, for sure.
Or if they say my practice is on my Instagram and my website is up to date, you know. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. We are at What's My Thesis. We are at or I we. I'm the general we. Javier, producer, is at and host is at What's My Thesis. It's at Javier Proenza. And yeah, man, come check us out next week. We're always here doing dumb shit, and sometimes we have really crazy conversations that blow our minds. Thank you so much. Check us out. What did you think of our conversation? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our merch store. Special thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, go to patreon.com/whatsmythesis. All the links are in the description below.